Welcome to the NAACP Dekalb Virtual Candidates Forum for our tax commissioner roles as well as the judges. We welcome every one of you. Thanks for everyone confirming and actually participating this evening. Our forums are to educate, equip, and empower our participants. And so we want to make sure that you understand that there's no debate. This is not a debate. Is you saying that you qualified to be a candidate, and you need to just let us know what you plan to do in the role. So the questions that you are here tonight are more to educate the participants and the attendees on what you're planning to do if you're the next elected official. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our co-host. Who's our co-host tonight? Nadine or Lance?
Nadine.
Okay, yes, this is like our 6-1 or something like that.
Almost. Fifth, sixth.
So I get it mixed up. So Nadine Ali is our co-host, and I'm gonna pull it over to her.
Thank you so much, President Hardy. Well, I definitely have the pleasure to introduce Meridith Lilly, who I've known for many, many years out in the community doing great work. She has extensive background and expertise in national, statewide, and local campaign strategy and community organizing. Of course, with more than 15 years of campaign organizing, she is one of the most political strategists that are well sought after and respected around the political circles. Of course, prior to her political experience, of course, she practiced criminal defense law and served as an adjacent professor at Miles College in Birmingham, Alabama. I now give you to Ms. Meridith Lilly.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi. I didn't know if y'all were still on mute or not, but first I would just like to thank the Dekalb chapter of the NAACP for having me this evening. I appreciate you all so much, President Teresa Hardy. Thank you all for the work that you're doing, Edwina, Nadine, Lance, Albert, all the good work that you are doing in the community. Dekalb, I can say the Dekalb NAACP chapter is one of the most hardest working chapters in the country. And I've been around a while and been going to a lot of chapters, speaking at a lot of the Freedom fundraising banquets. And so I can say that I'm truly proud of the Dekalb chapter and all the things that you all are doing. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get started at 6:38. So we have a lot of people on and they are waiting for us to get started. I'm gonna go over some rules tonight. And if at any point you can't hear me or something is going wrong, just kind of wave your hand or put something in the chat box and Nadine will get over to you. So first rule is we have a 2-minute open statement. So we have candidates for judge and tax commissioner on tonight. So we have a 2-minute open statement. And then you have 1 minute to answer questions. And then we have 1 minute for the closing statement. Edwina, raise your hand. She's our timekeeper. So while you're answering, you may want to look up for a second and just look and see how your time is going. We're going to try to stick to the time so we won't have people on all night. We know people have other Zoom meetings right after this. So we're going to try to keep and stay with the time. So again, it's 2-minute open statement, 1 minute to answer the questions, and then you have 1 minute for closing statement. Since we do have candidates for judge on here tonight and tax commissioner, we're going to kind of go back and forth. Maybe 2 questions to the tax commissioners and 2 questions to the judges, 2 questions to the tax commissioners, and so forth until time is called. So again, thank you so much. It'll be a fun night. Just relax. Just be your true, authentic selves and just answer the questions to your best ability. So we're excited to have you on. And we're going to go ahead and get started if the president says it's okay. All right. So everyone, at this time, we're going to go ahead and start with the 2-minute open statement. And we will start with, we're going to go ahead and start with Mindy Pillow.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mindy Pillow. Thank you very much, President Hardy. Thank you to Ms. Lilly, and thank you, Ms. Ali, and your committee. I've attended a number of your forums, and they've been very informative in the last few weeks, and I know it's not easy pulling a Zoom together. I am a family law attorney. My office is in Decatur. However, I practice throughout the metro area in family law. I started my career as an associate with Kilpatrick Townsend, which is a lodge law firm doing civil litigation, white-collar crime defense, switched to family law in 2011, working for Davis, Matthews, and Quigley, and then went on my own in 2013. I am a wife. My husband is a high school math teacher, more challenging than what we do. And also I have 2 teenage children, one a rising 10th grader and one a rising 8th grader here in Decatur. The reason that I'm running for Judge Seeliger's seat, as everyone on this call tonight is running for the same open seat for judge, is because we have a wonderful bench in DeKalb. There is not a family law expertise on our bench. So we have a lot of criminal expertise, but family law is critically important. There were 3 times as many domestic cases filed in 2019 as there were criminal cases in Superior Court. The other reason I'm running is I have a deep commitment and deep involvement in the DeKalb County community. I'm on the board of directors of Leadership DeKalb. I've coached mock trial at DeKalb School of the Arts. I'm on the board of the DeKalb History Center. I'm a former president of Junior League of DeKalb County. I'm on the board of directors for Metropolitan Counseling Services. That's probably my passion. We provide, as a DeKalb organization, we provide sliding scale mental health therapy to people who can't normally afford it, which is so important right now in what we're doing in the middle of this pandemic. I'm also in the board of directors for the Georgia Association of Women Lawyers, and I'm also a past president of the foundation. I thank you for your time. I hope to earn your vote, and I appreciate being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Next, we will have Roderick Bridges.
Hello, I'm Roderick Bridges, candidate for judge, DeKalb County Superior Court. First, I want to thank the DeKalb County NAACP for organizing this forum. My desire to serve as the next Superior Court judge would allow me to bring my vast experience on both sides of the bench and to ensure that every citizen that comes before the court will be treated with dignity and respect. My desire to serve is strengthened by my commitment to the community and to see a court that is fair and impartial and delivers justice for all. My desire to serve is enhanced by 21 years of legal practice in federal and state court. I represented individuals in criminal, civil, and family law matters in Superior Court while protecting the rights of all our marginal citizens. For over 13 years, I had the honor and privilege of serving the citizens as a DeKalb County judge. I implemented the court's first alternative sentencing program that reduced repeat offenders and saved taxpayers thousands of dollars. I implemented the court's first online electronic case management system. That system made the court more efficient and increased public access. I'm deeply involved in the community. Currently, I serve as the Human Trafficking Ambassador for the Interfaith Children Movement, where I lead the initiative to eradicate human trafficking, education, legislation, and prevention. I work in various other nonprofit organizations such as the 100 Black Men of DeKalb County. I mentor youth, provide food, clothing, and food to families in need. As vice president of the North Decatur Lions Club, I help provide vision screening for kids and honor our fallen officers. I'm also a member of the DeKalb County NAACP, where I serve on the Criminal Justice Committee, working to end money bail for nonviolent offenders and criminal justice reform. I'm a graduate of Xavier University. I earned a Master's of Public Health from Tulane University and a JD from St. Louis University. I would be honored if you voted for Roderick Bridges as your next Superior Court judge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Next, we will have Yolanda Parker Smith.
Good evening, and thank you. Oh, am I still muted?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, fine. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Yolanda Parker Smith, and I'm running for DeKalb County Superior Court Judge. I'm a proud 17-year resident of DeKalb County. I have decades of litigation and courtroom experience. I have both prosecutorial and public defense experience. I have assisted thousands of families, adults, and children. I'm a lifelong community servant, and I want to continue my service. As judges, they yield a lot of power. They can take your freedom, they can take your property, and they can take your life. And it's important who we decide who makes those important decisions. Too often, the concept of justice has been missing in everyday lives. As a public defender, I have always ensured that justice is attained by everyone in the courtroom. Over the years, I have encountered people who actually scoff at the idea that justice can be given to all people. Too often, the poor and the vulnerable are treated unfairly and with bias. The idea towards a fair and balanced justice motivated me to run for this important position. Because as I see it, one of the most important issues today is credibility. There's a lack of credibility in our court system, in our justice system. The lack of credibility has undermined the integrity of our courts. Citizens believe that decisions are based on status. The court should be the one place that citizens should be confident that the decisions are based on objective reasoning and facts, not race, not gender, and not where you live. As a Superior Court judge presiding over criminal matters, property matters, and domestic cases, judges affect the life, liberty, and happiness of its citizens. Those decisions have a very lasting. I ask for your vote on June 9th. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will have Mr. Vincent Crawford.
Hi, I am Chief Judge Vincent Crawford of DeKalb County Juvenile Court. I've practiced law for 30 years. 25 years of my practice has been here in DeKalb County. I was a former prosecutor, a defense lawyer, a public defender, and I got on the bench in 2005 as an associate magistrate. I've been on the juvenile court bench for now 14 years, and in 2013, I began to sit by designation in Superior Court. So I've seen the system evolve from a system of crime and punishment to accountability courts, from a system of litigation to talking about mediation, and from a system of crime and punishment to addressing the issues that lead people to crime. So when I sit by designation in Superior Court, which I have done during this pandemic, I've sat at least 3 times. I sit up to 10 weeks out of the year in Superior Court across all of the divisions, hearing domestic trials, hearing criminal cases, and resolving those matters. I will tell you, I'm currently on the task force on getting us back into the judicial system. We've been operating as judges. I'm proud of DeKalb County because all of the judges, we've been working through this pandemic, and we're going to be coming up with new solutions as to how court will be done differently. We will have a new norm, I will promise you, and I'm ready to be a part of that new norm. I serve on the education committee for the DeKalb Alpha's mentoring program. I've been on that committee for 13 years. And the highlight of my career is being invited to the White House as a guest speaker by then President Barack Obama for the advancement of technology that we use to transform the juvenile justice system in DeKalb County. And we created the only data and case management system in the United States. And I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Judge Crawford. As far as the judges, last but not least, we'll have Aaron Chausmer.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for hosting this forum. Especially, I'm very glad that during this time, we're not forgetting the key part of the civics system, which is interaction between candidates and voters. I'd also like to recognize the gentleman that we're running to I don't want to say replace, because I don't know that we can, but we are all running to succeed Judge Seeliger. He's been phenomenal representing DeKalb County in the civil rights area and his improvement of the bench and bar. I'm Aaron Chausmer, and I'm running for the DeKalb Superior Court. I first moved to DeKalb County in 1991 to attend Emory University, and I've lived in DeKalb County for almost 25 years. It's where I live and where I'm raising my children and where my family is. I've been a business litigator for over 20 years, and I've practiced in superior courts across the state. Without talking about any particular judges, overall, the system says that we need to improve efficiency and transparency. I don't have enough time to tell you everything that I believe and how I want to change things. So I invite everybody to either go to my Facebook Live that I've recorded or go to 2 podcasts that I've recorded, What's Up Dunwoody and Between Two Trains out of Shamble. I'm also pleased to announce that, I've been endorsed by a lot of very respected leaders of DeKalb County. I've been endorsed by Governor Barnes, by Mayor Lynn Deutsch, by Mayor of Dunwoody Mayor Lynn Deutsch, by Stone Mountain Mayor Pat Wheeler, Interim Clarkston Mayor Awe Yesu, and the Honorable Emmanuel Ransom, along with various council people. As an elected judge, I want to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the court. And I would thank you for the time and would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Aaron Chausmer. Next, we will hear a 2-minute open statement from Tax Commissioner Irvin Johnson.
Hello, everybody. This is Johnson, your current tax commissioner. I'm running for re-election this year as the tax commissioner of DeKalb. We become known as the kiosk commissioner. We have innovated and renovated kiosk in DeKalb County and New York tags. You also have the ability to get your property tax bills through email. You also have the ability, when you come to the tax office, to see how much time it takes or wait time. Automated service response system for customers so that online and automatically let us know how we're doing in the office. And those ratings oftentimes range from everywhere from excellent to very good to very satisfied. Of course, we like to have that at 100%. And so we'll be working on that in our next term if we're successful. So we're asking for your vote for Irvin Johnson as tax commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Irvin Johnson. Next, we will have a 2-minute opening statement from, I see Ms. Roselyn McCaskill. Yeah, Ms. McCaskill. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you so much as moderating today. Thank you for all the other candidates, and thank you, President of NAACP. My advocacy, implementation, and execution started back in high school. I actually started a chapter of the NAACP at predominantly white school in Charlotte, North Carolina. As going through college, I was actually the PR person for student government at North Carolina Central University, where I graduated my criminal justice background and minored in political science. And let me tell you, it's been in my blood to be an advocate and making changes. My mother was a part of NAACP, the National Council of Negro Women, and president of different PTAs from my schools. I have worked in nonprofit, state, and federal. I've done data reporting and collection. One of the jobs I maintained was in the women's prison in North Carolina, and back in Virginia, I'm sorry, where I help returning citizens get their vote, be able to vote. I currently have an 11-year-old and a 23-year-old, and that advocate is now 87 years old. I did end up going back to school and graduating with my master's from the Whitney M. Young Clark Atlanta University in social work. In running my nonprofit, my current client is the MLK Senior Community Resources Collaborative, where I am the program director over one of their many projects, which is under Ebenezer Baptist Church. Also, currently, I was elected 2 years ago or appointed by Commissioner Bradshaw or the Community Council of District 4. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ms. McCaskill. Thank you so much. Just a side note, quickly, Commissioner Johnson, check your internet system. It was a little bit hard for a few people to hear you. They sent you in the chat. If you check the chat system, there may be a number for you to dial in when it's time to answer questions. But it was a little bit hard for us to hear you with the internet. But check your chat box if you can in just a second. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the questions. Okay, you all are still on mute. So we'll go ahead and jump into the question. The first question is for one of the judges. Voters inquire on how your role of a judge differs from the role of a legislator or an executive. And so voters want to know, what do you do that's different? How can they relate to what you do on an everyday basis? And we will start with Roderick Bridges.
Just a basic civics lessons. There's division of government amongst us, where you have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. The legislative branch actually creates the laws, and the judicial branch actually interprets and enforces the laws. And that is our sole role. We are not makers of the law. We cannot change the law. We cannot advocate for law. In fact, our judicial canons prohibit us from actually doing that. It is very important that you have a judge that actually knows the law and has experience practicing law, because the application of the law is the judge is the director of the courtroom. He's also the interpreter of the law, and he presents the law to the individuals in the court. So if he doesn't know what the law is, he runs into some trouble. So it's very important that we as judges understand the law, and that's what I've done is 13 years as a judge, and that's what I do if I'm elected as the next Superior Court judge of DeKalb County.
Thank you so much. Aaron Chausmer, same question.
Yes. So the legislature makes the laws that the court is obligated to apply in disputes. So when voters ask what the difference is the judge makes decisions and decides the questions of law that happens in whether it's a civil case, a criminal case, or family law case. And the legislature will establish and tell the judge what the law is. So that's where the judge needs to know the law and then will apply it. The judge does not have the ability to make law, especially at the trial court level. If any laws to be made is through the common law or the appellate law process. All a judge does is take the law and applies it. Now, the legislature will often give the court discretion. And when the court is given that discretion, in that instance, I believe that the judge serves as the conscience of the community here at DeKalb County.
Thank you so much. Ms. Yolanda Parker-Smith, the same question, please.
Ms. Lilly, we cannot hear you.
What about now? Can you all hear me? Oh, you can?
Yeah,
okay.
can.
Yolanda Parker-Smith, same question.
Can you hear me? That is correct. As Attorney Bridges and Attorney Chausmer stated, it is not the job for the judges to make the law. It is the job of the judge to look at the relevant facts, look at the relevant law, and also apply the law to those facts to come up with the appropriate decision for all cases that come before the judge.
Thank you so much. The next question for the judges, and I will start with Judge Crawford. Okay, what has been the most effective methods for improving court procedures and efficiency? What other methods would you change? Unmute your phone.
I think the pandemic has caused the challenge for the court system as a whole. We have now gone to depending on technology. And like I said, I was able to transform our juvenile court system here in Georgia by using technology, by working with our IT specialists to create CPRS2. So going into the future, coming out of this pandemic, we're going to be relying, as we are now, on teleconferencing. It's going to be a lot of input from lawyers on how proceedings are going to be handled. But we will not be going back to a new norm of people appearing in a courthouse anytime soon. And so what we're going to have to do is try to figure out how can we use technology and how can we be more efficient outside of court and working on those things coming to court. But we have learned with using technology, using Zoom. I've had hearings this week with using Zoom. I had meetings using Zoom, that we are efficient, and we will be efficient in using technology.
And I had that same question for you, Mindy Pillow.
Certainly. I agree with what Mr. Crawford said, especially during this pandemic. Fulton County, for example, has a specific family law court where you have a 30-day status conference, a 60-day, 120-day. All of those have moved to Zoom very smoothly. Here in DeKalb, I've had a contempt hearing. I've had a discovery dispute hearing. The judges are hearing that, and my understanding is from talking from a seminar this morning with Chief Judge Asha Jackson, that is not going to change in the near future. They are going to attempt to continue that technology. It saves our litigants having to take off work, pro se, or those represented by an attorney. You don't have to take all day off work. You don't have to sit at the courthouse. It saves attorneys fees for not having to be there. It is prompt and it is efficient. So I think we're working on that very hard, and the DeKalb County court system has also moved the TPO, temporary protective hearings, to be online, and it's been very efficient.
Thank you, Mindy. I'm going to switch over just for a second to our tax commission, candidates for tax commissioner, and I will start with Ms. McCaskill. I'm looking for you on here. I see you. The first question is, why do you want to be elected as tax commissioner? And I think you touched on it during your opening statement, but can you expound on it just a little bit more?
Okay, I was muted again. So the reason why I'm choosing to run for tax commissioner is because DeKalb deserves something different. We deserve something innovative. I heard the commissioner reference some of the things they've done, but there's always a next level, and you have to always stay on top of what that is. And also understanding customer care. As a social worker, I understand customer care, I understand modes, I understand moods and what people want and how they want them. And I'm committed to our future of DeKalb. DeKalb needs a turn, a twist. If you all remember the old DeKalb back in the 90s and late and early 2000s, it was flourishing. Now we've gone to a term that's not flourishing in the way we need to go. So I choose to run for commissioner to offer citizens a new direction, accountability, whether it's someone in the office that the citizens have their best interest in. And I plan to bring civic communication back to the community and empower the citizens to have ownership of their neighborhood.
Thank you so much. The next question is for Tax Commissioner Irvin Johnson. Just to kind of lead from what Ms. McCaskill just finished speaking about, can you tell me what would you do different, if anything, this term, the next term as tax commissioner?
Well, we continue to have challenges in terms of improving service that we have. As I mentioned, for taxpayers to easily renew their tags. We've also made it easier for them to access services from the tax commission office, either on our website and through electronic services. So that we've done over the last 4 years. We've also increased the security where they can come and take care of their business. We've changes in Georgia law, concealed carries. We've had, so we're staying on top of all of the technology that requires in a tax office. We have some things on tap, which I can't mention at this particular moment in terms of spanning some services. But one of the things that I have not mentioned is that when you call our call center, for example, you used to be able to have to on hold. Now we have an opportunity for us to call you back if you don't want to wait on hold. That's a service that we did have before.
Okay, I think
have the over 4 years. So we
So we're gonna call time at this time. Commissioner Johnson, it's still hard for us to hear you. So look at the number in the chat session, and Albert, we may have to call Commissioner Johnson and get him set up on the phone. Let him dial in so everybody will be able to hear his responses. And then for whoever didn't hear the responses, we will put those responses back in the chat box later for all the participants that are on here. But Commissioner Johnson, try to dial in so we can hear you next time. I think it's like a bad internet connection. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I need the, what's the call ID?
So, President Hardy, can you mute everybody just for a second right now?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. Okay. We got it. So, so we're gonna go back and get started. So we'll switch back over to the judge questions right now. I think everybody y'all can still hear me, right? Even though I can't. Okay, good. So we'll switch back over to the judge questions. We also have questions coming in from the audience. But let's just go over and we'll start with the first question. We'll start with you, Ms. Yolanda Parker-Smith. So this first question is, what do you perceive as the greatest obstacles to justice, if any?
As I stated previously, I think at this point, the greatest obstacle to justice is the lack of credibility in our justice system. There's a lack of integrity in our justice system. Most people feel that equality, fairness, and justice don't pertain to everyday people. I am running to restore fairness, credibility, and justice for all people. Doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter where you come from. I'm running to restore credibility and integrity into our justice system as a DeKalb County Superior Court judge. So I think credibility and integrity is the biggest obstacle at this point to our justice system.
Let me just add to that question just a second. Let's stay here for a second.
Okay.
Why do you believe that?
Because everyday people feel like justice cannot be attained by everyday people. Most people feel that the rich and the powerful get justice. Most people feel that fairness and equality only apply to certain statuses of people. And being in a justice system, the court is the one place where everybody should feel like they should be treated fairly and with justice. And it shouldn't matter on your status, whether it be high or low, whether you come from Gresham Road or Tilly Mill or Wesley Chapel or Tilly, doesn't matter where you come from. So I think it's important that we restore integrity and credibility in our justice system. So everyday people feel like if you're just an everyday person, you don't get justice. And that's not true.
Thank you so much. The same question to you, Aaron Chausmer.
Financial circumstances. There has developed a situation where the financial resources of someone can materially and directly affect their ability to either pursue claims or defend themselves. And that applies in the family law, that applies in civil, and it definitely applies in the criminal. Even in the criminal area, you have a situation where people who may qualify for public defenders, there's that gap between people who may qualify, who don't qualify, and actually having the money to do so. In terms of what a judge can do that, admittedly, it's difficult because a judge is impartial and they can't do anything to balance, to change the party's circumstances. But what the judge can do, and what I think a judge should do, is understand that dynamic and understand the person's situation. And that will require more patience when dealing with a pro se defendant or a pro se party. The judge's role, their clients are the people of the community, and they need to look and do what they can to service that client by understanding and giving them the ability and directing them to resources.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to stay on this question for everyone because just what's going on in the world. I think someone needs to mute. Okay. So I think just what's going on in the world today, in our society today, I think this is one of the probably the most important questions for you all that's running for judge and our current judges tonight. And so I'm going to stay with this question. So I'm going to ask it again as I go to our next person. It would be Roderick Bridges, then Mindy Pillow, and then Judge Crawford. The question again was, what do you perceive as the greatest obstacles to justice, if any? And Roderick, you can start start it off, and again, Mindy, and then Judge Crawford. Thank you.
I think what everybody has spoken on, or what we're talking about, access to court for those individuals, the marginalized individuals in our society. I practice law all over the state and Superior Court, and you will see a disparity between sentencings for individuals who may be charged with the same thing, but they get different results based on the judge or the individual who's presiding over the matter. We have a significant disparity in the court, and access is denied based on resources. DeKalb County does have a great public defender's office, and we have some great judges. I think that we need to switch and go more further towards alternative sentences and accountability courts. That would give those individuals who don't have the resources or the access a better chance to have a fair results in court that is equivalent to someone with money. And that's just the socioeconomic of the courts itself. Those biases that we bring in, we need to work, something that I've done for 13 years, we have to work with those biases to ensure that those biases give us the best results possible. So those are the challenges that we have as judges in the future.
Thank you so much. Mindy?
Certainly. I agree with what has been stated. I mean, I think the biggest obstacle to justice in Georgia are both the lack of financial resources, and also it is more limited for persons of color. So you see that in DeKalb County, you see that there are things in place, like you can do a pauper's affidavit if you can't afford filing fees that is considered by the judge. But on average, as Mr. Chausmer stated, it is very difficult to defend a big lawsuit or to sue for an injustice if you don't have those access to resources. So I think that is a definite problem with our access to justice. I will say that DeKalb, the clerk's office, is trying very hard to combat that. There are pleadings available for pro se people on the internet, on the clerk's website. There's Family Law Center that you can have for a very limited consultation fee, and those pleadings are available with no charge. So they are certainly working on those issues in DeKalb.
Thank you. Judge Crawford?
So I'm going to approach this question from a different angle, because I sit on the Georgia Criminal Justice Reform Committee, the subcommittee on the disproportionate impact of minorities in the system. And we were doing a study based on children coming into the system. And the number one issue was why children are coming into the system and why they're staying into the system: poverty. And so what we've been able to do here in DeKalb is, I noticed through my commitment alternative program that I had these young men that were on intensive supervision, and women. And so what I was able to do is, we were able to get them GEDs. So there were three things coming out of this program: GED, some kind of education, a skill, and employment. So we were able to get the youth bill, which is now currently in DeKalb. There was an article the other day with the Moody Construction Company that showed several of our young people from 16 to 24. We collaborated with Superior and in the solicitor's office to get people employed.
Thank you so much. I'm going to jump back over to the tax commissioner candidates now. I think we got Commissioner Johnson squared away, but I will start with, I hear a little feedback. I will start with Ms. McCaskill on the question, and then, like I said, I want to try to get to some of the questions in the chat room. But do you have a plan on how you can overall reduce tax bills?
The actual tax bill?
Yes.
I don't do the tax as far as collecting or setting the bill. That's the assessor. But I collect what's out there. So I will increase the collection. So there has been a decrease in the amount of collection that has been put out there for collecting the taxes. And then there has not been a true increase in collecting taxes over the last 4 or 5 years. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. Commissioner Johnson, can you hear us? Are you back with us?
I'm back. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's gonna have to turn off his computer.
Okay, turn off your computer because we're getting a little
Turn it
feedback.
down.
We hear you great on the phone.
So I need to do what? Turn off my computer?
Turn off the computer or walk away from it.
Okay. Is that better?
That's
Much better.
that's much better. Thank you so much. Okay, step back some.
If he turns the sound off on his computer, that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell him mute his
Well,
computer.
oh, turn my,
Mute your
Mute.
computer.
Now,
Yeah,
Mute
mute
your
your computer.
computer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
are you on speaker? Take it off speaker if you want.
Is that better?
Yes. Okay, good. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go over a few questions that some of the citizens just have. Just basic questions. One, where do property tax dollars go? And do paying their taxes late, does that affect their credit? So those two basic questions. Can you help answer those for some of our citizens today?
Or money used to take care of the services that the county
I
provides.
think you walked away from the phone.
That's where the money goes.
Mr. Irvin, come back towards the phone.
Please talk into the phone.
Right.
Mr. Irvin, come back towards the phone.
Come back to the phone.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go, right there.
All right. The tax funds that we collect are money used for the services that the county provides. Fire service, police, and school systems. So that's where the money goes. All right, what was the second question?
Okay, I think you asked what was the second question. The question was, the citizen asked if paying their property taxes late, does that affect their credit?
Well, when taxes are delinquent, the system, the law requires that you file what is called a lien, and the lien is picked up in public record by your credit reporting agency. So we don't report anything to credit bureaus for delinquent taxes. We never have.
Thank you so much. And for all the citizens that's on the phone, we'll take his answers again, and we will, Nadine and Teresa will put those out so everyone can read those on a later date. Just some quick facts from the commissioner office for anyone that just did not hear him. I'm also getting some beeping feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And so we'll switch back over to you, Ms. McCaskill. And I'm going to go into the chat box because we are starting to run out of time. And so I'm going to ask you a question from one of the citizens. You may see it.
I answered two of them, so I'm not sure if that's
okay.
I didn't know if I was supposed to. I apologize.
Well, yeah, no, it's okay. We can answer it out loud. And then Commissioner Johnson, we will switch back over for you to answer the same question. But that question was, the entire county, cities, and the schools rely on the tax commissioner to collect taxes correctly based on the law. What experience do you have collecting taxes or working in a tax commissioner's office?
Okay.
And that's for you, yes, Ms. McCaskill.
Okay. So what I put is I have experience in customer service, retail, and public health. No, I do not have tax collections, but collections is universal, and it can be collected. You can collect one, you collect the other. The position comes with basic principles with collections, customer service, data collection, putting together process and procedures, and if it's effective, then that's what I would do in running the office. I do understand the importance of collecting, and that's why I'm running. There has been a decrease in the collections I talked about earlier, and then not enough tick to then help where we need for monies and different programs in the county. Also, once I come into the office, tax commissioner state, then it was asking about, I think it asked about why was I in the office, but I don't have experience as far as tax collecting, but they teach you. There is a manual that they give. So I've already had the manual for a while. And then also you do a training once you get into the job, just like any job, you go through a training. So they send you through a training. I'm trying to look at my time. They send you through a training, and then you do an ongoing training after that throughout the years. So I have the basic principles, and that's what's needed to do the job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Switching back over to Tax Commissioner Irvin Johnson, because they really want to get this answer. We couldn't hear it the first time. You shortly tell us, what would you do differently? And we heard some of it, but what would you do differently as Tax Commissioner this time that you didn't do during your first term?
Well, we're continuing to work on the projects that we've already started. Is that better, my sound?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We're continuing to work on the projects we've already started in terms of how we're going to move the office forward over the next 4 years. Well, we have a system in place that we're looking for now, and once we come out of this COVID situation, we will be looking at how to schedule appointments for taxpayers who otherwise have busy schedules, how they can create appointments to come to our office. We're looking at a system that will allow taxpayers to call us and make appointments, and then we will be able to service them through another network. We're also looking at other systems that will allow us to do what, if you go to banks, and you notice that the banks now are using what they call virtual service, or virtual customer service, where an individual can service you over the computer. And we're looking at those opportunities to see how we can incorporate those kinds of things. For the first time ever, we will have our property tax. In addition to the email billing that we did, we will now have the tax where you can actually pay your property taxes on a kiosk and you don't have to come to the office. So we're looking at a lot of innovative things.
Thank you so much. So at this time, I'm going to switch back over. Hold on one second. Switch back over to the judges and citizens. I see your questions. I see the audience. I see your questions. But we're going against time, and I'm trying to get as much as I can in before the time is called on me and I'm kicked out. And so so we have a lot going on. I see questions coming in from my text messages and on the computer, but I'm trying to get everybody in it, and so we can get all the questions answered. So this question, I will start with you, Judge Crawford. What criteria would you use for deciding whether to impose or affirm sentences outside of standard ranges? I can repeat it if you want me to. Yes. What criteria would you use for deciding whether to impose or affirm sentences outside of the standard ranges?
Well, for those cases that come before us that don't have already a standard sentence, we have a broad discretion. You have everything from probation to actual time. So what typically happens in any given case is the lawyer on behalf of the defendant will stand up and give mitigation. And so what you're usually balancing is mitigation to decide if this person should get something as small as probation or get some kind of prison time. And usually when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at how is this person going to function in the community? Are they going to be able to get employment? Should we look towards them getting some kind of education, some kind of skill? Can they function? And so, especially for the nonviolent crimes, you get that range, but you're really looking at the mitigation and you're looking at the attorney to really kind of guide you in those mitigating factors and what you should do.
Thank you. I'm going to have a different question for Roderick, Mindy, Yolanda Parker-Smith, and Aaron. So this is the same question for you all. What is too young for a person to be tried as an adult in the court? And do you agree with prosecuting under 17 as an adult? And I will start that question with Aaron, then I will go to Mindy, then Yolanda, and then Roderick. Thank you.
Sorry. On something like that, the standard of when someone is tried as an adult, there's either a legislature or appellate courts that dictate the standards. That's something the judge at a trial court level takes the facts and applies it. The Supreme Court has addressed, the United States Supreme Court has addressed it, in the legislature. They give us those guidelines, and you look again, as Mr. Crawford was saying, at the totality of the circumstances. But I'm not so sure that it's something that you can easily describe in the particulars within the framework set by the legislature or the sentencing guidelines.
Thank you, Aaron. Roderick?
A Superior Court judge does not decide whether an individual is tried as an adult. That's what the district attorney makes that decision. He files a motion to actually move that child from the juvenile division up to the Superior Court. The defense counsel can file a motion asking the case be moved back to the actual juvenile court, but based on the charges, the DA can make the determination of whether he wants to move that charge. So the judge, as Superior Court judges, we have very little say in whether an individual is tried as an adult or whether they're tried as a child, as in the discretion of the district attorney.
Okay, Mindy, and then Yolanda Parker-Smith.
Certainly. I agree with Mr. Chausmer and what everyone has said, that it is the province of the legislature to determine kind of what the rules are. But I do not agree with someone under the age of 17 being tried as an adult. While there are mandatory minimums, while there's not as much discretion in the world of felonies as there is, because it is in the statute, and we're relying on the laws that the legislature has made. But at some point, a juvenile needs to be a juvenile, and where do we draw that line? That's a very difficult decision, and that's a decision that's not necessarily left to a trial court judge, a superior court judge. That's left to what the law has been made and what we are left to interpret.
So let me just switch it up. Yolanda Parker-Smith, do you believe that a child should be prosecuted as an adult?
As a judicial candidate, it is not my job to input or impute my personal beliefs as to whether or not a juvenile should be charged as an adult. As all of the other candidates have stated, it is within the purview of the legislature to decide whether or not a child of a certain age is brought before a superior court judge. It is not the opinion or the subjectiveness of the judge to decide whether or not that individual should be charged. As Attorney Rogers has already stated, that is within the purview of the district attorney whether or not they wish to seek charges that are heightened for a child of juvenile age. So as a candidate, for a judicial candidate, we can't make that decision. It is our job to listen to the relevant facts and apply the law.
Okay, well, let me ask you all this. What do you believe to be the root cause for the high number of juvenile offenders, and what changes can the court system make to reduce those numbers? Judge Crawford.
As I stated earlier, I was talking about the youth bill. So what we found in the study is that poverty is leading to a lot of the actions of kids and opportunity. So coming into this, with this youth bill, what we've been able to do and been successful with is collaborating with Superior Court, State Court, collaborating with the community, collaborating with $1 billion construction company to, number one, we took it upon ourselves to get them educated, get them the GED. The second part of it was to get them skills. We also taught life skill classes and then get them employed. What we have to do is we on the front end have to address the issues in the community that are bringing people into the system. The system is not a remedy for those issues that are going on in the community, which are those poverty-driven issues. And so that's what we have to address with our kids, is getting them education, skills, and jobs.
Thank you. Yolanda Parker-Smith?
I totally agree with the judge. Unfortunately, communities of color suffer from educational, economic, racial, and cultural disparities. And as those disparities, sometimes it's unfortunate that precipitates criminal behavior. What we do need to focus on is making sure that those individuals do not come into the courtroom. We need to focus more of our resources and our manpower on intervention and preventative measures to prevent those individuals from coming to our courtroom, and focus on preventing them to come into the courtroom, and also making sure they have access to resources to ensure that they do not come into the courtroom, by putting in measures to build up intervention and preventative programs to access and make sure they are successful outside of the judicial system.
Sets the then I would be open to any suggestions.
Thank you, Aaron. Mindy?
I think that the restorative justice processes would be an optional choice, providing accountability to survivors. I think that anything that can bring together the victims of crime and kind of teach the people, sorry, I just got distracted by a long chat, that can kind of, we can learn why these things are happening and prevent them in the future is absolutely what we need to be doing. The accountability that we're doing in the juvenile courts and the superior courts have proven to be successful. We also have issues, some of this is substance abuse related, some of this is the educational opportunities, the ways that we can actually use restorative justice to solve some of these problems going forward. I would absolutely be in favor of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now we're going to put our attention back on the tax commissioners. And President Hardy, please stop me if I'm going over our time. I know, like I said, we have a lot of questions that are coming in. And I know that McCaskill, some of the questions are people are asking you in the chat, and I thank you for answering them as fast as they are coming. But one of the questions they want to know is, do you have property? Do you own property in DeKalb County?
So as I just answered to the person, I do not have property in the county. And part of that is when I moved to this county, I was trying to make sure this was the right place for my mother. As I mentioned, she's 87 at the time. So she's 87 now. And so I was trying to make sure, what is that right balance for me? I am the only child, so I had to make strategic choices. So in coming here, I did not make a purchase. So now that I know this is where I want to be, and then it's been helpful for her, that's why I'm staying. I have had property in the past, and my parents have had properties. I always grew up in a home. So they always had properties, and they did properties outside of that. So even when they got older, I had to take over the taxes, take over different things that were going on with the home. I live in DeKalb. I've been in DeKalb probably 4 years now. And I remember DeKalb when it was in 2000s and in early 99. So I'm very familiar with DeKalb. And again, I'm on the community council for my district. I actually live in District 4, which is near, people more know it as Shamrock area. I don't know if I have time. I'm sorry.
No, thank you so much. Commissioner Johnson? One of the questions was, as a tax commissioner, would you change the homestead exemption?
Say that again.
The question is, as tax commissioner, would you change the homestead exemption?
No, I would not change the homestead exemption. I would try and make it better so that the citizens will be more able to take advantage of the various exemptions that we do have. I think the exemption qualifications as they stand need to be updated given the last 20 or 30 years that they've been based on incomes that have changed quite a bit. Cost of living has changed, the cost of food has changed, and all of those kinds of things. So in order to get that done, we'd have to do something legislatively to try to get the state and to look at what we can do to adjust the values for homestead exemptions. Now, first, when you start looking at homestead exemptions, you're going to be talking about how do you balance one exemption against another exemption. So that becomes the challenge of getting exemptions changed. All right, somebody's got to make a change. Somebody's got to lose, and somebody's got to win. So that becomes the difficult part of doing exemptions.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And that goes to my next question with you, McCaskill. Do you want to follow up on the exemptions? How do you feel about maybe updating exemptions or the exemptions that we have in place, updating those? Have you looked into that, and what would you do differently?
I haven't looked into all of them, but I did see different exemptions that were out there. There are some exemptions that are applied to that work for now, but as things are changing, they could change. So as looking into them deeply, I can then make sure to equate to them to be more efficient. So I did see certain things that were one side of the county feels that, you know, they're not being fairly receiving or they're it's not received accurately. So then another side of town feels that, oh, we're fine, but then the one side feels that their property is not at great value. So those are different things that I would advocate and do and work with House, Senate, and Congress to make sure of what's the right thing. What are the policies that are coming down? What are the right ways to address and make sure that everybody can live, thrive, and succeed in the area?
Thank you so much. So the unfortunate part is all of y'all are saying good stuff. The sad part is we don't have that much time to keep talking. I want to hear so much, especially from the judicial candidates. I mean, both candidates, both sides, so much good information for our citizens, but we're running against time because there are so many people on here, and you know, 1 minute, 2 minutes that add up, and I don't feel like we had enough time to hear everything. With that being said, in your closing remarks, we will give, I'm going to make a little bit amendment. They said 1 minute for closing remarks. I'm going to say we'll have 2 minutes for everyone to kind of answer some of the things that I did not ask, something that you want everyone to hear, your closing statement before, you know, things that I didn't ask that people still want to hear the answer to. And so in your closing remarks, we're going to change that from 1 minute to 2 minutes per person. And just give us something that your last thing that you want us to hear, want the audience to hear before we close out today. Again, I don't think we had enough time to ask every question. And maybe we may have another forum, maybe before Election Day. But if not, leave us with something that we can take home and remember. And so while I'm closing out, how we will start, again, I will start with the judicial candidates. I would start with Mindy, then Roderick, then Judge Crawford, Yolanda Parker Smith, and Aaron Chausmer. That's the order that we will go in terms of the closing statements. And then we will go switch over to the tax commissioner, and we will start with Ms. McCaskill, and then end with Commissioner Johnson. And then the next voice you will hear will be Nadine's or President Teresa Hardy. So again, let's start with the closing statements. You have 2 minutes each, and we'll start with Mindy Pillow.
Thank you, everyone, so much for the invitation to be here this evening and to participate in this forum. Thank you for everyone taking the time to attend. It is extremely important, and this is a very important election across the board. Again, the reason that I am running for this seat is because we need family law experience on the DeKalb County bench desperately. I have practiced exclusively in the area of family law since 2011. In 2018, for example, there were 9,200 domestic cases filed in DeKalb, 5,000 criminal, and approximately 2,000 other breach of contract, equity, title to land. In 2019, there were 9,500 domestic cases filed, 3,100 criminal cases filed, and 2,100 other, the same categories. As we can see, what is happening is the domestic cases far outweigh any other types of cases that come before the Superior Court bench. This is going to be even more so as we emerge from the COVID-19 crisis. We've seen that there are issues with child support. The Parental Accountability Court is going to be critically important going forward. People have lost their jobs. How do you pay child support if you have no job? Are you able to recover financially while you're going through everything else? We've had issues with parenting time during COVID-19, people not bringing their children because their former partner doesn't socially distance the same direction. I thought they gave 2 minutes. She expanded to 2 minutes.
I did.
It was 2 minutes.
It was 2 minutes.
Oh,
Well,
was
no,
it? I'm sorry. I was looking at the clock. That says 16 seconds.
Yeah,
I apologize.
It's not time yet. I'm sorry about that. Let's start the clock back over at 20 seconds, Edwina. It's 2 minutes per person.
Thank you. I will wrap up. But anyway, I just think that it's so important for the family law experience, the civil experience that we're going to need as we recover from this and going forward. The family law cases is what the majority of the Superior Court hears. I also have civil litigation experience, and white collar crime defense experience. The website is www.pillowforjudge.com. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mindy. Roderick Bridges. Unmute your phone. Unmute your phone. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Madam President Hardy, and to the members of the DeKalb County NAACP. Thank you for having this judicial forum. It's very important. It gives us the opportunity to engage the voters of DeKalb County. Martin Luther King once said that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. I think that reflects my 21 years of legal service with a significant real-life practice in Superior Court. I've handled civil, criminal, family law, and real estate cases in Superior Court. So that's practical experience that I will bring to the bench. In addition, I worked as a public defender, so I understand the accountability court. I understand how to help those individuals in need. I have a record of helping those in indigent defense and those marginalized individuals. It's something that I similarly did as a judge for over 13 years in my judicial service by creating programs that actually address the problems that we have with those individuals who are marginalized in our community. And I created programs that had a positive impact on the community to make a difference. That commitment is flowed over into my community service commitment, where I've mentored at-risk kids to avoid them entering into the criminal justice system and lead them more on a positive path. I actually, in 2004, founded my own nonprofit organization called Positive Hearing to address at-risk kids and to help their families. Recently, during the COVID virus, we've actually been packing up food boxes and actually delivering them to families around in the community. So I understand the need to have a judge that not just sits on the bench, but actually involved in the community. We also need to restore citizen trust in the court. And that means having a fair and impartial judge that will provide justice for all, something I did for over 13 years as a DeKalb County judge. As a lifetime of service, I am committed to doing great things as your next Superior Court judge. I know that a vote for Roderick Bridges will bring extensive experience from both sides of the bench and a legacy of public service across DeKalb County. On June the 9th, 2020, vote Roderick Bridges for Superior Court judge. Thank you. Please, everybody be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Next, we will have Judge Vincent Crawford.
So 2 things I want to address. Judges don't create law, but I'm on the Council of Juvenile Court Judges, and I served on the legislative committee. So what happens whenever there's a statute about to be passed, they hold committee hearings. We are allowed to comment on the statute or give any recommendations regarding a statute, which brings me to my point of an earlier question asked about juveniles. And there's a statute pending now in the legislature regarding, should we treat 17-year-olds like adults or like children? We have to make a decision in our society that if someone is under the age of 18, you can't split their brain in half and say half of it's immature, but the other half is mature enough to commit crime. Children are children, and they should stay in the category of children, and we should not create this thing of making them adults just because they committed a criminal offense. The other thing I want to say is that I've sat in all the seats in that courtroom, the prosecutor, defense lawyer. I've sat as a juror and I've sat as a judge, and I've seen the system evolve. I've gone from prosecuting cases for 4 years, defense lawyer 8 years, public defender, and I've seen the system evolve. And I know as I sit now coming out of this pandemic, we're going to have a new system. And I'm already Superior Court ready to do that. I've sit over there 10 weeks out of the year. I've sat for all divisions. I've even sat for this division, Division 3, on several occasions for Judge Seeliger. And so I'm familiar with the docket. I'm familiar with the cases and how to move those cases. I've done family law. I've done criminal law. And even as an apparent attorney when I was in juvenile court, making sure that those people were properly represented when their kids were taken, I was able to formulate the Parent Attorneys Council, Advocacy Council that exists now, and even created a treatise for parent attorneys, and I'm currently their advisor for the council. So I ask for your vote, Judge Vincent C. Crawford, for Superior Court Judge. Thank you.
Mute.
Ms. Lilly, you're muted.
Thank you so much, Judge Crawford. Next, we will have Yolanda Parker-Smith.
I'm a proud 17-year resident of DeKalb County. I have decades of experience on the defense side and prosecutorial side. I have tried all types of cases. I have family law experience. I have advisory counsel experience. I have diversion court experience. I'm a lifelong community servant. And as I stated before, judges are servants. They are imputed with the power to take your property, your freedom, and your life. And who do you want making those decisions? As a public defender for the past 14 years, I've always ensured that everybody is treated with fairness and equality and with respect. Too often, fairness and equality only apply to the rich and the powerful. Too often, the poor and the vulnerable are treated with bias and disrespect and treated unfairly. The ideal toward a fair and balanced justice motivated me to run for this office. The biggest issue facing the justice system today, as I stated previously, is credibility. The lack of credibility has undermined the integrity, the full integrity of the court system. Citizens believe that decisions are based on where you come from, who you know, how much money you have in your pocket. But citizens should be absolutely confident that decisions are based on relative reason and fact, and that's it. As a Superior Court judge, they preside over criminal matters, domestic matters, and other issues. I have done all of those cases. I have experienced in all of those. Superior Court judges have the power to affect someone's life, happiness. Those decisions, they can have a real lasting, an everlasting impact on someone's life. I want to restore fairness, equality, confidence, and integrity into our system. I want to be your next DeKalb County Superior Court judge. Compassion, courtesy, and community, they're not just a creed for me. That's a promise. As your next DeKalb Superior Court judge, I will restore credibility and integrity into the system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yolanda Parker-Smith. Thank you so much. Aaron Chausmer?
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Again, as I mentioned at the outset, these forums are critical to educating voters because anything we can do to give you who we are and what we're about is critical and important for this process so you can make informed decisions. I've lived in DeKalb for 25 years. I'm committed to it, and it's home for me. I practice across the state, and as I mentioned, and I've seen the good judges, but I've also seen a lot of bad. But unfortunately, I'm not the kind of guy who sits back and says, I'm going to complain or comment about how someone else does a job unless I'm willing to step into those shoes. This is me doing that. You go where you live, and this was the opportunity for me, and that's why I want to be a judge, because the system needs to be fixed. The system right now is slow and inefficient. There are real-world consequences as a direct result when cases take a long time. Just because a case sits, there's no change in their legal position. But you need to make that decision, because in a civil case, for example, if you are suing and your case just sits because a motion's been there with no ruling for over a year, you are not getting compensation that you think you're owed. And you may not be able to survive until the court rules on that. Or if you're being sued for whatever reason, you can't refinance. The mere fact that you have that claim against you limits your ability to move on. So there are real world consequences as a direct result of these delays. As an elected judge, I want to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the court. I want to treat everyone fairly, with dignity, and with respect from the moment they walk in the door. As I mentioned earlier, the public are the quote unquote clients of the court. We need to be outward looking to see what we can do to make that process better for the public. Again, I'm Aaron Chausmer, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you all so much to the judicial candidates. I can just say this as a former criminal defense attorney, you all speak with passion. I think the community would be satisfied with having any of you all. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, but don't just drop just yet. We're gonna have closing statements from our tax commissioner candidates, Ms. McCaskill, and then our current tax commissioner, Irvin Johnson. We'll start with you, Ms. McCaskill, and then go over to Commissioner Johnson and close out with 2 minutes each. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, moderator. I really appreciate you. Thank you, President. Thank you for everyone that's on the line. And thank you for the chat questions. And thank you for, there was a person, I think it's called National, and thank you for supporting to say, you know, your comments of helping me with the person National. But I want to say to that is, someone was saying, you know, stop being hard, but that makes my skin rough. As a social worker, I worked in a prison. I've done many things throughout the year. To date me, I worked for Parole back in the day of doing collections when he had his business. So in doing what I do today has strengthened me. So it has made my skin tough. And the reason why I'm in DeKalb is because of the people that are speaking out to say, you know, we're with you, thank you. So that's why I love DeKalb. And so that's what helps to bring it all together and making my decision of staying here along with helping my mother. But part of why I wanted to be the tax commissioner is to impact change. And being the tax commissioner can allow me to impact many areas. My opponent, he's a nice guy. He's worked tirelessly in the tax office for the past 12 plus years. He's even been the deputy tax commissioner. But maybe that's an issue of concern because we've become just in doing. And doing things have led to a disconnecting away from the community as a whole. My focus has improved the county's financial health and being more conscious of the decrease in the amounts of past collections and the limited movement of collections. The improvements will make those positive impacts where we will live, thrive, and succeed. I have advocated and will advocate for you and be the liaison between the government, such as I mentioned earlier, the House, the Senate, congressional, the local governments, and different departments for you as a citizen to produce results. I will optimize community customer service and community experience. I uphold the ethics. Please vote for me, Roselyn, Allison, McCaskill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Last but certainly not least, Commissioner Irvin Johnson.
Hello there. Thank you, NAACP President Hardy, and the moderator, Ms. Lilly and Meredith, and Meridith Lilly, and Nadine Ali. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the Tax Commissioner's Office and what we've been able to do. It's been a long 4 years, but we've been very successful in bringing the DeKalb County Tax Commissioner's Office to one of the best tax commissioner offices in the state of Georgia. All across this state, the DeKalb Tax Office is recognized one of the best operating tax commissioner offices in the state. We're often sought after in terms of cross-training and benchmarking all through Georgia. And we often have quarterly meetings with all of our counterparts around the metro area and other areas. In the last 4 years, we've been able to increase homestead exemptions for seniors and veterans. We've been able to increase basic exemptions for citizens who are buying their homes. We've been able to educate everybody about what taxes are about. We've gone to over 100 different locations, churches, homeowner associations, and schools to talk about the tax situation, the tax administration, and the tax billing. We have a good working relationship with the Board of Commissioners, with the delegation of DeKalb, and we're working constantly with them as we try to move DeKalb forward. We have done a yeoman's job in terms of educating our citizens
about what it means to the taxes in DeKalb County. And we often get very good comments from the taxpayers. Over 8,100 people have responded to our survey, and they overwhelmingly say that we're 93% satisfied with what the Tax Commissioner's Office is doing. Now, that doesn't mean that we're perfect. We have some things that we can do and we can do better. So working with our partners around the county and with the delegation and the Board of Commissioners, we will be even more successful as we go forward. So I thank you for your time, and I look for your support in the next election.
All right. Thank you so much, Commissioner Irvin Johnson. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight. This was really good, very informative. I wish we had more time. There were so many people that usually, generally in these settings, you get 1 or 2 questions and you have to move on because we had 2 sets of different offices that were running. So again, thank you so much. Continue feeding what you're telling us tonight. Continue feeding it to the community, DeKalb at large, through your social media outlets, through your website. Continue giving out your message of what you are doing and what you're willing to do. I want to thank the NAACP again for continuing to be that voice in our community politically, educationally, socially, and economically. Thank you. I am a proud member. And so I want to encourage anyone that's on the call tonight to make sure that you also sign up and become a proud member of the NAACP. And now at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Nadine and President Teresa Hardy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lilly. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Definitely the Tax Commissioner, Mr. Johnson, Roselyn McCaskill, Roderick Bridges, Aaron Chausmer, Melinda Pillow, Yolanda Parker Smith, Vincent Crawford. You have been a great audience, candidates tonight. We definitely would like to, again, thank you all for sharing the information you plan to help do in DeKalb County. And of course, I bring all of that on behalf of our NAACP DeKalb branch. I would like to thank the participants who have been just repeat audiences within the last 2 weeks. Without due, I definitely will have to thank the Political Action Committee, who have really been a great part in helping us to put on all of these candidate forums. And I would just leave you with, we have our last 2 forums this coming Saturday, 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. That is the forum that would be co-hosted by our educational chairperson, Mr. Tommy Travis. And again, thank you all for all of the information that you all gave us. Just want to quick remind everyone, of course, early voting start this coming Monday. And it's several locations that you can go and vote. And of course, you can get that information from our website, naacpdekalb.org, or you can also go out to the DeKalb County website to get the information. Again, you all have a great evening. Thank you all for joining us. And of course, I turn it back over to our President, Ms. Hardy.
All right. Thank you, Nadine. All right. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you to everyone, to all the candidates. You did great in explaining your position. I'm proud to have you all as candidates, you know. One thing I wanted to note, we've had several of these forums, and the thing about the adult, the age to try a child as an adult keeps coming up. And I put in the chat, what do you guys think? For the people who got some kind of inkling about this, please send an email to the branch at info@naacpdekalb.org. It actually helps when we're out there advocating for change in legislation and supporting our judicial system. But if we don't change the law to go there, we can't go to the judge and say, oh, that's my baby. He really didn't do that. He's my baby. Okay. I just want us to kind of get in the mode of going to where we need to go to make the change with it. I know in Alabama, all the babies are tried as adult if they do an adult offense. So in Georgia, we do have an age on it, but what confuses me in Georgia is you can be 13, 14 to make a decision, an adult decision. You can drive at 16, you're an adult at 17, but you can't register to vote till you're 18, and you can drink alcohol when you're 21, but you still stay in my house till you're 26. And something is wrong with that, you know what I mean? So I just want us to think about that when we're talking about our community and what we really want to see. And I see that it was hammered on with our judges a lot tonight, but we talked about it too. And I'm glad to see our representative Viola Davis on. She can take this back. But when we had our House reps, it came up again there. But what we didn't do is tell them what age we think in law, not what we think our babies are. What is the real age for someone to be charged as an adult based on the offense? And that's something we need to talk about in the community. And I look forward to your comments on that. And sorry about that, because that kind of touched me a little bit.
Right.
Really.
Amen.
Yes. Okay, so I'm supposed to be doing this other thing here. So again, I want to thank our sponsors, for paying for this, because nothing is free. I just want us to get that in DeKalb County, our community, ain't nothing free. Nothing is free. Okay, so Georgia ACT, Advanced Communities, what's the T for? I forgot that. But anyway, Georgia ACT, Transforming, I think. Communities Transforming. But they help to pay for our virtual forums, which is good because we don't have a lot of funds. So we appreciate all y'all being members. For those who were not members, and they are members now because they came to our forum, we appreciate you. We also have our co-partners. Our co-partners are Stone Mountain Delta Sigma Theta. We have the National Coalition for Negro Women, which the president was on. We have the National Coalition for 100 Black Women. We have an Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and our DeKalb County churches all help to support our political platform. So we really appreciate everyone who helps to keep the NAACP going. Now, I'm going to give you guys this because it's the first time it's going to be coming out. Today was a great day for the NAACP. We were able to install the memorial historical marker for victims of lynching in DeKalb County. And it sits right in front of the courthouse. Why does it sit in front of the courthouse? Because those people did not get a chance to go in for justice. And you can actually see that at 556 McDonald at the courthouse that we go to on a daily basis. If you want to go and visit it, you're welcome to do so. But know this, just like it was racism back in whatever that was, during the racial terrorism, it still exists today. So we're not doing something right as it relates to our legislative, our judicial, and our executive branch. We still got a whole lot of work to do. And you guys know that we traveled down to Brunswick in support of Ahmaud Arbery's family to make sure that justice is served. And we're going to continue that fight. And we hope that you will support us in actually getting that done. So any donations to help support this organization fight for you and your family, please do so at www.naacpdekalb.org. And you guys have a great night. I really enjoyed this. Thanks again, Meredith. I will see you guys on Saturday as we go and figure out what's going on with our board of.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you.